The Galactic Council chamber was silent. 500 alien species sat in their seats, watching the massive holographic screen at the center of the room. On that screen, they could see 500 warships moving slowly through space toward a small blue planet. Council Speaker Malus stood at the highest platform. His long gray body was still. His 4 eyes watched the screen without blinking. He had seen this before. Many times, a powerful empire would find a weak planet. They would take it. The council would watch. No one would stop them. The Drakari Empire has entered the Sol system, Malus announced. His voice was tired. Their target is the 3rd planet. The natives call it Earth. In the corner of the chamber, observer Yeneth recorded everything. That was her job. She wrote the history of the galaxy. Today, she would write about another small species being destroyed. It was sad, but it was normal. "Why are we watching this?" asked one ambassador. He was from a peaceful trading species. "We cannot stop the Drakari. They are too strong." Malus nodded slowly. "We watch because we must remember. The humans of Earth have no idea what is coming. In 72 hours, they will be gone, far away." On the command ship of the Drakari fleet, High Overseer Velthos looked at the blue planet growing larger on his screen. He smiled with his sharp teeth. Earth was beautiful. It had water, metals, and a perfect position in the galaxy. It was valuable. "Send the message," Velthos ordered. Fleet Commander Torek bowed his head. "Yes, High Overseer." The message was simple. It went to every communication device on Earth. Every radio, every television, every phone. The people of Earth heard an alien voice for the first time. "People of Earth, we are the Drakari Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. You will surrender. You have 1 rotation of your planet to accept. If you do not surrender, we will take your world by force. This is your only warning." The message ended. Velthos leaned back in his chair. He had done this many times. The primitive species always panicked first. Then they surrendered. It was always the same. On Earth, everything changed in 1 moment. Park Yuna was working at a radio telescope facility in South Korea when the message came. She had been studying distant stars. Now she was listening to aliens threatening her planet. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was clear. She immediately called the military. Within 1 hour, every government on Earth knew the truth. Aliens were real. They were here. And they wanted Earth. Emergency meetings happened everywhere. Presidents and generals talked. Scientists and soldiers argued. Some people wanted to surrender. Some people wanted to hide. But most people, when they really thought about it, felt something else. They felt angry. In Seoul, Colonel Kang Do-hyun sat in a military command center. He was 45 years old. He had fought in many difficult situations, but nothing like this. He looked at the satellite images of the alien fleet. 500 ships, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. "We cannot win," said one of his officers. "We should surrender and hope they are merciful." Do-hyun looked at the young officer for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No," he said simply. "But Colonel, they will destroy us." "Maybe," Do-hyun agreed. "But I will not hand my home to monsters without a fight. Let them come. Let them see what humans do when their home is threatened." Similar conversations happened everywhere on Earth. In America, in Russia, in China, in Europe, in Africa, in every country. Some people were afraid. Many people were afraid. But fear turned into something else. It turned into determination. The United Nations held an emergency meeting. It was the fastest decision in human history. Every country agreed. For the first time ever, all of humanity stood together. Earth's response was broadcast back to the alien fleet. It was 1 word: no. In the Galactic Council chamber, there was a small reaction. A few ambassadors made quiet sounds of surprise. But most of them expected this. Primitive species always said no at first. "Typical," said one ambassador. "They will change their minds after the first bombardment." Observer Yeneth wrote in her record. Earth rejected the Drakari demand. Expected resistance time, 48 to 72 hours based on similar conquests. On the Drakari command ship, Fleet Commander Torek read Earth's response. He was not surprised. He was not worried. He turned to High Overseer Velthos. They refuse, High Overseer. Velthos smiled again. Good. I was hoping for some entertainment. Begin the bombardment. Target their military locations first. Show them what we can do. The first Drakari weapons fell on Earth like fire from the sky. Military bases exploded. Ships sank. Planes burned on the ground. In the first hour, millions of people died. Cities were hit. Governments lost contact with each other. The council watched. Some of them looked away. It was always difficult to watch a species die, but something strange happened. As the fires burned, as the bombs fell, as the death count rose, the humans did not surrender. They did not run. They did not hide. They prepared to fight. In Seoul, Kang Do-hyun stood up from his chair. His command center was shaking from nearby explosions. Dust fell from the ceiling. But he was calm. Send orders to all units, he said clearly. We are not fighting to win. We are fighting to make them pay for every step they take on our soil. We will make this invasion the most painful experience of their lives. In the sky above Korea, Lieutenant Lee Sun-woo climbed into his fighter jet. It was old. It was slow compared to alien ships. But it could fly. And he could fight. All pilots, he said into his radio. Today we become legends. Today we show the universe what humans are made of. Let's go. The jets took off into a sky filled with alien ships. On the Galactic Council screen, observer Yeneth watched the small human aircraft flying toward the massive Drakari fleet. She felt sorry for them. They were brave, but they were doomed. She started writing their death record. It was the standard procedure. She did not know that she would never finish that record. She did not know that in the coming days, she would write something very different. She did not know that the galaxy was about to learn a new word. The word was human, and it would become the most terrifying word in the universe. The first Drakari soldiers landed on Earth 12 hours after the bombardment began. They expected to find broken cities and terrified people ready to surrender. They found something very different. Fleet Commander Torek watched from his ship as the first reports came in. His landing forces had touched down in 12 locations around the planet. Initial resistance was expected. That was normal. But something in the reports made him uncomfortable. Commander, said one of his officers. Unit 7 is reporting heavy casualties. Torek looked up. How many? 40% losses in the first engagement. Torek stared at his officer. That was impossible. The humans had primitive weapons, simple guns, basic explosives. His soldiers had energy shields and advanced armor. There must be an error, Torek said. Check the report again, but there was no error. Across the planet, similar reports were coming in. The humans were not running. They were fighting. And they were fighting in ways the Drakari had never seen before. In Seoul, Colonel Kang Do-hyun commanded the defense of the city from an underground bunker. The streets above were chaos. Alien soldiers marched through the smoke, but every street, every building, every corner had become a trap. They're entering Sector 7, reported one of his officers. Good, said Do-hyun. Activate the charges. The explosion destroyed an entire city block. 30 Drakari soldiers died instantly. The humans had buried bombs everywhere. They had turned their own city into a weapon. In the sky above, Lieutenant Lee Sun-woo led what remained of his squadron against the Drakari fighters. They had started with 20 aircraft. Now they were down to 6. But they kept fighting. I have a target, Sun-woo said calmly. His jet was damaged. Smoke was coming from one engine. He did not care. He aimed his missiles at a Drakari transport ship and fired. The transport exploded. 300 alien soldiers died before they could reach the ground. Sun-woo's damaged jet could not stay in the air much longer. He pointed it toward another enemy ship and flew straight at it. At the last moment, he ejected. His jet crashed into the alien vessel. Both exploded in a ball of fire. Sun-woo landed in the burning city with his parachute. He found a dead Drakari soldier and took its weapon. Then he started walking toward the sound of fighting. He would not stop fighting until he was dead. In the Galactic Council chamber, the mood had changed. Observer Yeneth was writing quickly, her many hands moving fast across her recording device. This was not normal. This was not how invasions worked. The 72-hour mark has passed, announced Speaker Malus. His voice was strange, confused. The humans have not surrendered. The chamber was silent. Every ambassador was watching the screen. They could see the battle reports. They could see the casualty numbers. The Drakari were winning, of course. They had to be winning, but they were losing soldiers at a rate that made no sense. One ambassador spoke up. Their weapons are primitive. How are they killing so many Drakari? A military expert from another species answered. They fight without stopping. Our data shows that human soldiers continue fighting, even when badly injured. They have a biological system that reduces pain during combat. Some of them have been observed fighting with wounds that should be fatal. Another ambassador shook his head. That is insane. Why would any species evolve such a trait? No one had an answer. On the Drakari command ship, Fleet Commander Torek was receiving a report that made his blood cold. The humans had captured some of their weapons. That was expected. Primitive species often tried to use advanced technology they did not understand, but the humans understood. They adapted our energy weapons in less than 1 day, reported his science officer. They connected them to their own power systems. They are using them against our soldiers now. Torek stood up from his chair. That is impossible. It takes years to understand Drakari technology. We designed it that way. Yes, Commander. But the humans, they learn very fast. On Earth, in a hidden laboratory, a civilian engineer named Choi Hyunwoo was taking apart an alien rifle. He had never seen anything like it. The technology was advanced. Beautiful. Deadly. He figured out how it worked in 4 hours. Get me more of these, he told the soldiers who had brought him the weapon. And find me their vehicles, their communication devices, everything. I want to understand all of it. The soldiers looked at each other. One of them asked, "Can you really understand alien technology?" Hyunwoo smiled. "I was designing phones last month. Now I am reverse engineering alien weapons. Amazing what humans can do when someone threatens our home." By the end of the first week, the Drakari had captured only 3% of their target territory. Their casualty rate was 15 times higher than expected, and the humans were getting stronger. In the Galactic Council chamber, Admiral Krennis appeared on screen. He was an old Drakari warrior, retired after a long career of conquering planets. He had warned High Overseer Velthos not to attack Earth. No one had listened. "I have been watching the invasion," Krennis said to the Council. His voice was heavy. "I want to add my observations to the official record." Speaker Malus nodded. "Speak, Admiral." The Drakari made a mistake. "We classified humans as Category 7. Primitive, aggressive. We were wrong. They are something else. Something we have not seen before." "What do you mean?" asked one ambassador. Krennis was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "They do not surrender. I do not mean they are slow to surrender. I mean the concept does not seem to exist for them when their home is threatened. They would rather die. All of them. Every single one. They would rather their entire species end than give their planet to invaders." The council chamber was completely silent. "That is insane," someone whispered. "Yes," agreed Krennis. "That is exactly what it is. And that is why they are so dangerous. You cannot negotiate with beings who prefer death to defeat. You cannot scare them with threats of destruction. They do not care. They will pull you into the fire with them and smile as you both burn." Observer Yeneth wrote down every word. Her hands were shaking. She had documented many species. She had never documented anything like this. On Earth, the fighting continued. In every city, on every continent, humans fought and died. They used everything they had: guns, bombs, knives, rocks, their own hands. They fought in daylight and in darkness. They fought when they were injured. They fought when they were starving. They fought when there was no hope. A Drakari soldier reported something that would later become famous across the galaxy. He had shot a human woman 3 times. She should have been dead. But she crawled toward him, a grenade in her hand. She was smiling. The grenade killed them both. That image spread across the galaxy. A dying human, crawling toward her enemy, smiling. It was not courage. It was something else. Something that had no name in any alien language. Humans would later give it a name. They called it spite. 6 weeks had passed since the invasion began. The Galactic Council had expected Earth to fall in 3 days. Now they watched in confusion as the war continued. The humans were not just surviving, they were adapting. Fleet Commander Torek stood in his command center, looking at maps of Earth. Red zones showed Drakari control. Blue zones showed human control. When the invasion started, he expected the entire map to be red within days. Now, after 6 weeks, less than 10% was red, and that number was getting smaller every day. "Commander," said his communications officer, "we have lost contact with Forward Base 12. Torek closed his eyes. That was the 5th base this week. The humans had learned to attack at night. They had learned which Drakari sensors could not see them. They had learned where the weak points in Drakari armor were. They learned everything so fast. In the hidden laboratory, Choi Hyun-woo had not slept in 3 days. He did not care. He was too excited. Around him, his team of engineers and scientists worked on captured alien technology. They had vehicles now, communication devices, medical equipment, and they understood all of it. "We need to talk to the Colonel," Hyun-woo said to his assistant. "I have something to show him." When Colonel Kang Do-hyun arrived, Hyun-woo showed him their newest creation. It was a weapon. It looked strange, half human, half alien. Metal and plastic and glowing parts all combined together. "We call it the hybrid rifle," Hyun-woo explained. "It uses Drakari energy technology, but it runs on human batteries. Any soldier can use it, and it cuts through their armor like paper." Do-hyun picked up the weapon. It was heavy, but it felt right in his hands. He looked at Hyun-woo with respect. "How long to make more?" "We already have 2,000 ready, and we can make 500 more every day." For the first time in weeks, Do-hyun smiled. On the front lines, the war was changing. Human soldiers now carried alien weapons. They wore pieces of alien armor they had taken from dead enemies. They used alien communication devices to listen to enemy orders. Kim Nari was a combat medic. Her job was to save lives. She ran through battlefields, treating wounded soldiers, dragging them to safety. But the Drakari did not understand what she was doing. A Drakari officer watched through his scope as Nari treated a wounded soldier. He was confused. In Drakari culture, wounded warriors were left to die. It was the way of things. Only the strong survived. But this human woman was risking her life to save someone who could not fight. Then something happened that the officer would never forget. After treating the wounded soldier, Nari picked up a rifle. She turned toward the Drakari position, and she started shooting. She killed 8 Drakari soldiers in 2 minutes. Then she went back to treating the wounded. This story spread among the Drakari forces. The humans had warriors who healed other warriors, then became warriors themselves. It made no sense. It was terrifying. In the Galactic Council chamber, Observer Yeneth presented a special report. Speaker Malus had requested an analysis of human psychology. What Yeneth found disturbed everyone. "Humans have a trait that we cannot translate into any galactic language," Yeneth explained. "The closest translation is spite. It means they will hurt themselves to hurt their enemies. They do not calculate benefit. They do not think about survival. They simply want their enemies to suffer, even if it costs them everything." One ambassador raised a hand. "All species have anger. All species want revenge. This is not new." Yeneth shook her head. "This is different. Let me give you an example. Our surveillance captured a human soldier who was trapped under a destroyed vehicle. He was dying. There was no escape. A Drakari soldier approached to finish him. The human used his last strength to activate a grenade. He died. The Drakari died. The human gained nothing from this. He was already dying, but he smiled as he did it. The chamber was silent. They smile," Yeneth continued. "When they know they will die, when they know they have lost, they smile because they are taking an enemy with them. This is spite. We have no defense against it. You cannot negotiate with spite. You cannot scare it. You cannot stop it. High Overseer Velthos received these reports on his ship. He was not happy. The invasion was supposed to take days. It had taken weeks. His casualties were in the hundreds of thousands, and now his soldiers were afraid. Fear was spreading through the Drakari army. Soldiers reported nightmares about humans. They saw human faces in the shadows. They heard human laughter in the wind. The psychological operations from Earth were working. Humans had started leaving messages for the Drakari, written in blood, written on walls. Simple words in broken Drakari language. We are coming. You will not leave. Earth remembers. Some Drakari soldiers refused to go on patrol. They were executed for cowardice. But more soldiers became afraid every day. And then something impossible happened. Colonel Kang Do-hyun led an attack on a major city that the Drakari had captured. It was a coordinated assault. Thousands of human soldiers, armed with hybrid weapons, attacked from every direction. They fought through the night. They fought through the next day. They did not stop. By the second night, the city was free. For the first time in the war, a Drakari flag fell. Human soldiers burned it in the main square. The image was broadcast to the world, to the galaxy. In the council chamber, ambassadors watched in disbelief. A primitive species had recaptured a city from the most powerful military empire in the known galaxy. This changes everything, whispered one ambassador. Speaker Malus nodded slowly. Yes, it does. On his command ship, High Overseer Velthos watched the same footage. His officers were silent around him. No one wanted to speak. No one wanted to be the one to say what everyone was thinking. Finally, Velthos spoke. His voice was quiet, confused. What are these things? No one answered, because no one knew. On Earth, in the recaptured city, Colonel Do-hyun stood among his soldiers. They were tired. They were wounded. Many of their friends had died. But they had won. Do-hyun looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, aliens were watching. He wanted them to see this moment. He wanted them to understand. We are humanity, he said to no one. And we do not give up. Ever. The war was only beginning. And humanity was only getting started. 4 months after the invasion began, the galaxy watched something that had never happened before. The Drakari Empire, the most powerful military force in known space, was losing a war against a primitive species. In a hidden facility underground, Park Yuna stared at her computer screen. For months, she had been studying Drakari communications. At first, the alien language seemed impossible, strange sounds and symbols that made no sense. But Yuna was patient, she was smart, and now, finally, she had done it. I cracked it, she whispered. Then louder. I cracked it. I can read their communications. Within hours, Earth's military leaders had access to Drakari battle plans. They knew where the aliens would attack. They knew where they would retreat. They knew everything. Colonel Kang Do-hyun studied the decoded messages with his officers. A smile spread across his tired face. They are planning a major attack on the eastern coast. Tomorrow morning. Should we evacuate? Asked one officer. Do-hyun shook his head. No. We should prepare a welcome for them. The next morning, 10,000 Drakari soldiers landed on the coast. They expected to surprise the humans. Instead, they walked into a trap. Human forces were waiting, hidden, ready. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 8,000 Drakari soldiers were dead. The rest ran back to their ships. They had never experienced a defeat like this. On the Drakari command ship, Fleet Commander Torek received the news in silence. His hands were shaking. Not from anger, from fear. They knew our plans, he said quietly. How did they know our plans? No one could answer. Admiral Krennis, watching from his retirement home on the Drakari homeworld, sent another message to High Overseer Velthos. End this now. The message read, We have lost more soldiers on Earth than in our previous 3 conquests combined. The humans are learning faster than any species I have ever seen. Every day we stay, they get stronger. Every day we fight, they learn more. If we wait too long, they will take this war to us. Velthos refused. Retreat would destroy the Empire's reputation. Other species would stop fearing them. He ordered more soldiers to Earth. It did not help. Choi Hyun-woo had moved beyond weapons now. His team was building vehicles, aircraft, ships. All of them used a mix of human and alien technology. All of them were deadly. How long until the spaceships are ready? Do-hyun asked during one of his visits. Hyun-woo looked at his designs. 2 more months. Maybe less if we work faster. Do-hyun put his hand on the engineer's shoulder. Work faster. We are going to take this war to them, on the battlefields of Earth. The war had become a nightmare for the Drukhari. They controlled almost nothing now. Every base they built was attacked. Every patrol they sent was ambushed, and the humans kept coming. Kim Nari had become a legend. Stories about her spread among both human and alien soldiers. The medic who fought. The healer who killed. She had saved over 200 lives. She had taken over 50. One night, her unit was surrounded. They were protecting a group of civilians trying to escape a war zone. There were too many Drukhari, not enough humans. Someone had to stay behind. Nari volunteered. You need to get those people to safety, she told her commander. I will hold them here. You will die. Nari smiled. It was a sad smile. But it was real. Then, I will die well. Now go. The unit retreated with the civilians. Nari stayed. She had 1 rifle, 2 pistols, and 5 grenades. She had her medic training. And she had 17 rounds of ammunition. The Drukhari came for her. She shot the first one in the face, the second one in the heart. She kept shooting. She kept moving. She used every piece of cover, every shadow, every trick she had learned in 4 months of war. She killed 17 Drukhari soldiers before they finally cornered her. She had 1 grenade left. The Drukhari soldier who found her would later describe what he saw. The human woman was bleeding from many wounds. She should not have been standing, but she was smiling. That terrible human smile. She held up the grenade. She pulled the pin. For Earth, she said. The explosion killed her and 4 Drukhari soldiers. When her unit returned later to find her body, they found something else. On the wall, written in her own blood, were 2 words. Keep fighting. In the Galactic Council chamber, Speaker Malis called an emergency session. The situation had changed. Something new was happening. Something that terrified everyone. Our intelligence reports indicate that the humans are building spacecraft, Malis announced, using stolen Drukhari technology. They are preparing to take the war beyond Earth. The chamber exploded in worried voices. This was not supposed to happen. Primitive species did not build spacecraft in 4 months. It was impossible. We need to consider intervention, said one ambassador. Against the humans? Asked another. Are you insane? Did you not see what they did to the Drukhari? We should be considering how to protect ourselves. Observer Yeneth wrote quickly. The mood in the chamber had shifted completely. At the beginning, they had felt sorry for the humans. Then they had been curious, then confused. Now they were afraid. What happens when they reach space? One ambassador asked. It was the question everyone was thinking. What happens when they start looking at other planets? Other species? What happens when they remember that we watched their invasion and did nothing? No one had an answer. On Earth, in a secret location, the first human spacecraft was nearly complete. It was not pretty. It was rough and strange, made from human metal and alien technology forced together. But it would fly, and it would fight. Colonel Do-hyun walked through the construction area with Choi Hyun-woo. Lee Sun-woo was there too. He would be one of the pilots. Will it work? Do-hyun asked. Hyun-woo nodded. It will work. It will be faster and stronger than anything we have ever built. The Drukhari will never see us coming. Sun-woo touched the hull of the ship. His eyes were hard. He had lost many friends in this war. He had almost died many times. But he was still here, still fighting. I cannot wait to see their faces, he said quietly. Do-hyun looked at both of them. These men had done impossible things. All of humanity had done impossible things. And they were not finished. In 2 months, he said. We take the war to them. And we show the galaxy what happens when you invade Earth. Above them, in orbit, the Drakari fleet waited. They did not know what was coming. They did not know that the prey had become the predator. The turning point had arrived. 1 year after the Drakari invasion began, something impossible happened. Human spacecraft left Earth's atmosphere. They were flying toward the alien fleet. They were going to war among the stars. Colonel Kang Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the lead ship. Around him, human officers worked at their stations. The technology was still new to them. They had learned it in months instead of decades, but they had learned it well. "All ships report ready," said Lee Sun-woo from the pilot's chair. He was calm, focused. "Ready," Do-hyun nodded. "Take us up." "Take us up." 20 human ships rose from Earth. They were ugly, rough, made from stolen technology and human determination. But they were fast. They were deadly, and they were angry. On the Drakari command ship, Fleet Commander Torek watched his screens in disbelief. This was impossible. The primitive species had built spacecraft. In 1 year, it had taken the Drakari thousands of years to reach space. These humans had done it in months. "All ships, prepare for battle," Torek ordered. His voice was shaking. He tried to hide it, but his soldiers knew. They had seen what humans could do on the ground. Now the humans were coming to space. The battle was short. Human ships were faster than anyone expected. They hit the Drakari fleet before the aliens could organize. They attacked weak points that Choi Hyun-woo had identified from captured technology. They fought like they had been fighting in space for centuries. In 2 hours, 15 Drakari ships were destroyed. The humans lost 4 ships. It was not a fair trade. It was a massacre. Do-hyun's ship pushed through the chaos toward the command ship. Explosions lit up the darkness around them. Drakari fighters tried to stop them. Sun-woo was too fast, too skilled. He dodged everything they threw at him. "We are approaching the command ship," Sun-woo announced. "Prepare boarding teams," Do-hyun ordered. "We are taking that ship." Human soldiers in spacesuits, carrying hybrid weapons, blasted their way onto the Drakari command ship. They moved through the corridors like ghosts. Drakari soldiers fell before them. Nothing could stop them. Fleet Commander Torek was on the bridge when the humans arrived. He had a weapon in his hand. He was prepared to die fighting, but he did not get the chance. A human soldier shot the weapon out of his hand. Another grabbed him and forced him to his knees. And then Colonel Do-hyun walked onto the bridge. Torek looked up at the human. He had studied them for a year. He had fought them. He had lost to them. But he had never been this close to one. Do-hyun looked back at him. "You are Fleet Commander Torek?" Torek nodded. He was too afraid to speak. "Good," said Do-hyun. "You are coming with us." The battle ended soon after. Without their command ship, the Drakari fleet fell apart. Some ships surrendered. Some tried to run. None escaped. Within 6 hours, the invasion was over. Earth had won. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos ruled. Ambassadors were screaming. Some were crying. Some were trying to leave. Speaker Melis watched the recordings of the battle over and over. He could not believe what he was seeing. "They won," he whispered. "The primitive species won." Observer Yeneth was writing the final entry in her historical record. Her hands trembled. She had documented thousands of species. She had never documented anything like humans. She wrote, "The Drakari invasion of Earth has ended in total human victory. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that exceed all projections. Their speed of adaptation is unmatched in galactic history. They built spacecraft using stolen technology in less than 1 year. They defeated the most powerful military in the known galaxy. They are no longer a primitive species. They are a galactic power, and they remember that we did nothing while they were invaded." High Overseer Velthos received the news of his fleet's defeat in his palace. He sat in silence for a long time. Then he gave an order that had never been given in Drakari history: full retreat. "All forces, withdraw from the Sol system immediately, and send a message to every species in the galaxy." The message was simple: leave the humans alone. On Earth, celebrations erupted. For the first time in a year, people were not fighting, not dying, not hiding. They were free. They had won, but the war had changed humanity. Millions had died, cities had burned, the scars would take generations to heal, and humans had learned something about themselves, something dark, something powerful. Park Yuna was chosen to send a message to the galaxy. She stood in front of a camera, knowing that hundreds of alien species would hear her words. She had thought about this moment for a long time. What should humanity say? People of the galaxy, she began. 1 year ago, the Drakari Empire invaded our home. They called us primitive. They said we would surrender in 3 days. They were wrong. She paused. Around the galaxy, aliens listened. We wanted peace. We did not ask for war. But when war came to us, we fought. We lost millions of our people. We suffered more than you can imagine. But we did not give up. We will never give up. Her voice grew stronger. Now we have your technology. We have your weapons. We have ships that can travel between stars. We learned everything in 1 year. Imagine what we will learn in 10. In 100, the galaxy was silent, listening, afraid. You watched our invasion and did nothing. We remember this, but we are not interested in revenge. We are interested in the future. We want to be friends. We want to trade. We want to explore the stars beside you. But know this, her eyes were hard now. Determined, if anyone threatens Earth again, we will not just defend ourselves. We will bring the war to you. We will learn your technology. We will adapt. We will overcome. And we will never, ever stop. That is who we are. That is what it means to be human. She took a breath. The choice is yours. Peace or war. Friendship or fear. We are ready for either. Humanity is waiting. The message ended. In the Galactic Council chamber, Speaker Malus called for a vote. It was unanimous. Earth was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Not because the aliens wanted humans as partners, because they were terrified of humans as enemies. Observer Yeneth added a final note to her record. The galaxy has a new power. They came from a small blue planet that no one cared about. They were invaded by the strongest empire in known space. And they won. They are called humans, and I do not believe the galaxy will ever be the same. On Earth, Colonel Kang Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the stars. Lee Sun-woo was beside him. Choi Hyun-woo was checking the engines, and somewhere, watching over them all, were the spirits of those who had died. Kim Nari, millions of others. They had sacrificed everything so that humanity could reach this moment. What now? Sun-woo asked. Do-hyun thought about the question. For a year, they had fought to survive. Now they had won. Now the galaxy was watching them with fear and wonder. Now we explore, Do-hyun said. Now we learn. Now we grow. And we make sure no one ever thinks we are prey again. He looked at the stars. So many worlds. So many possibilities. So many species that had watched humans die and done nothing. But that was the past. This was the future. The galaxy watched us burn, Do-hyun said quietly. Now they can watch us rise. And far across the galaxy, in council chambers and military bases and homes on 1,000 different worlds, aliens looked at the small blue dot in the distance. They had thought it was nothing. They had been wrong. They would never underestimate humans again. The war was over, but the legend of humanity was just beginning.